Now, I want to start things off by saying Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you guys are having a fantastic holiday. That's the reality of the situation. Guys, what we're going to touch on today on Crime Time is, well, we're going to go back to Demetrius Robinson. But I'm also going to tell you guys that Megyn Kelly has put an excellent 5-part series on her channel covering the Idaho 4. And look, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, that's mainstream media, this and that. And so is all the other documents that we watch from court TV and all that. But I will tell you that Megyn Kelly's deep dive into this, plus including episode 4, where she talks about possible innocence of Bryan Kohberger, was very, very well done. I think you all should watch it. And today we're going to cover a small part of that because she took things back to a story that I talked about here on this channel, and I was one of the only YouTubers doing it, and that's Demetrius Robinson and Emma Bailey. It was very interesting to hear her discuss this. Guys, we possibly got a trial date for the summer. I'm thejbgunner. This is Crime Time. Let's get on into it. Let's do it.
Bring it back.
What's going on, everybody? As you guys know, I'm thejbgunner, and this is Crime Time. Now, before we get started, let me first and foremost say thank you and Merry Christmas to everybody that supports this channel or any of my channels, regardless of the method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do if it wasn't for you, the Gun Squad. Big shout out to you guys. I love you so much. And with that being said, if you too find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Show some channels some love and join the Gun Squad today. You can also find my other channels, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're a leftist or snowflake. It's just not really for you. You know what I'm saying? I'd keep my monkey ass right here watching this shit. And this channel may not even be for you. I really don't give a fuck either way. But let's go ahead and roll into this. I want to start off by saying I heard a YouTuber talk about essentially that later on, all the people that were pro Kohberger could be wrong. I want to make this statement clear, and no, we can't. Because being pro-innocent until proven guilty is not pro-Kohberger. Even if Bryan Kohberger is found guilty, I'm not wrong. I haven't been wrong this entire time, and almost everything that I said would happen has happened. But ultimately, my position is, with anybody that is being charged of a crime that we didn't see on video or we don't have direct, immediate evidence, or in my opinion, everyone deserves their day in court. I will never be wrong by being an American patriot and believing in innocence until proven guilty. And let's call it what it is. Majority of the evidence against Bryan Kohberger is very circumstantial. We've went over that. We've talked about that. Just like my accusations or thought process about, let's say, Demetrius Robinson, that's also very circumstantial. Do I believe Demetrius Robinson should be arrested and charged with the murder? No. No, but I also didn't believe Kohberger should have either. Now, Kohberger, there is a lot more circumstantial evidence on, and I can admit that, and so I understand why he's the one facing trial. But I also know that Moscow has pretty much funded 50% of their economy is the University of Idaho. So I understand that in Moscow, Idaho's perspective, it is very good to get this case, an arrest before the winter semester, which they did a year ago. It's very important to that community to get this case wrapped up and sent down the river. I 100% get that. I understand that. There is corruption in that type of situation. Well, the potential for corruption, I think we all understand that. Now, why is Demetrius Robinson's photo over my shoulder again? Well, guys, it wasn't that long ago, if you guys actually remember. It was about 8 months ago, and I was one of the only YouTubers doing this. Are they killers of the Idaho 4? Remember that video from almost now 8 months ago? And that wasn't even the only video I did. If you scroll down here, Emma and D, the drug dealers, along with Xana, those were questions that I asked in those two videos, and those two videos were very much so liked and enjoyed by this community. Now, the reason I brought this up, and many of you guys called me racist for doing so, because my position is, if we have a drug dealer known for violence, currently arrested for his fentanyl killing a young man, who happened to be at the University of Idaho, why wouldn't we look at him as a potential suspect instead of the young man that's never really been in trouble, that is working on his PhD, and by all, analyzation into his life, is pretty much a good kid, other than a youthful drug addiction? Why is it that we wouldn't look at this motherfucker when 54% of the homicides are done by 12% of the nation? Why wouldn't this motherfucker, who sticks out like a sore thumb in Idaho, even though he was in Washington, why wouldn't he be the guy when there's clearly a connection? Why wouldn't we at least look into it? I said the same thing about Jack Showalter. The motherfucker was in a hoodie, acting goofy on the damn camera at the grub truck. Why wouldn't we look at Jack Showalter in the slightest? Why wouldn't we look at Jack DeCour when there was 10 calls made in rapid fire to Jack DeCour's phone right before the murders? Why wouldn't we? It makes no sense at all. By the way, y'all gotta love this shirt. Al Bundy 2024. Real American, scored 4 touchdowns in a single game. Yeah, I went on an Al Bundy merchandise spree for myself for Christmas. That's right. And anybody that's ever known me or been with me, they'll tell you I'm very Al Bundy-like. It's my spirit animal. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on into this, because we're going to take a look at Megyn Kelly. She actually had a pretty good series, and I would definitely recommend you guys watch the entire 5-part series. Now, I want to tell you going into this, there are little small videos like the 3-minute and 31-second where they're clips from the videos. Make sure you click on the full-length ones that are 40 minutes, 50 minutes. There's 5 parts. And I would highly recommend you guys check it out. But what we're going to check out today, right now, is she brought something up in episode 4 that I think is very important here. Let's go ahead and jump on into it.
It was spring break, and Caden Young was looking to score, and he succeeded, only to pay with his life. That is a thumbnail history of the events as detailed in the initial news stories. However, the voluminous police reports, as well as a conversation with one of the detectives who had led the investigation, and with a legal aid lawyer who subsequently got involved, offer a more detailed account. One that introduces 2 new actors to Caden's story and perhaps to ours. They're a couple who quickly caught the defense team's rapt attention and continue to hold it like a magnet. It was all too common, another young life ravaged by fentanyl. And within days, it might very well have become simply another tragic statistic in a national body count that is climbing toward pandemic proportions.
You see where we're going here, right?
But then the police made 2 arrests in connection with Caden Young's death. Hurrying to room 214 of the Holiday Inn, where Young had first overdosed, the police arrested Emma Bailey, 22, of Moscow, and Demetrius Robinson, 37.
Now, we have covered Emma Bailey and Demetrius Robinson extensively. There's only one other channel that I saw did this. And even though I'm not a fan of the liberalism and the dykeness and all that shit, Truth and Transparency, you could call it like it is. Truth and Transparency, back in the day, about 8 months ago, right along with me, did a very extensive video series in which they also dug into this. So Truth and Transparency, I have to give that thing credit. She went very hard on this, and so I have to say that she did a wonderful job in digging into Demetrius and Emma Bailey and all of that. Now, I don't know if she's went, because I don't watch her videos like that. I don't know if she's dropped that theory, but I've never dropped the theory. I've always believed where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's trees, there's ooh-ahs. It is what it is. Let's go.
Of Tacoma, just as they were apparently preparing to leave. They were each charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit a violation of the Uniform Controlled Substances Act. That is, they had allegedly supplied the student with the lethal fentanyl-laced cocaine. They were held on $100,000 bail. Pleading not guilty but unable to post bail, they were shuffled off to the Lewis County Jail, where they were to await their May 30th trial date. The pair spent 2 months and 5 days behind bars. And during that time, law enforcement investigators and the press kept digging. And what they unearthed grabbed the attention of the preternaturally curious.
Watch all this shit. It's going to get big.
Demetrius Robinson, or D, as he was widely known in the college towns of both Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington, had quite a rap sheet. Extensive was the adjective the local paper used to describe it. Violent was the modifier, though, that leaped up in many people's minds. Among the eyebrow-raising highlights, a 15-month prison sentence for a second-degree assault in Pullman back in 2018, a second-degree rape investigation 2 years later, and then in 2021, an arrest.
Thank you, Megyn Kelly, for not being a bitch and saying essay, a second-degree essay, because you know that's the way all these true crimers do. You know what I'm saying? You know that's what they do. Shout out to Megyn Kelly for not being a complete punk-ass bitch. Let's go.
In Pullman for suspicion of possession of a controlled substance with intent to deliver, and for allegedly assaulting a companion when their alleged partnership went south. While the drug case had fallen apart because of legal concerns over an overly gung-ho search of a hotel room, the fourth-degree assault and harassment charges stuck, and Robinson served 151 days in jail. Also scattered about Robinson's sheet were 5 charges for driving with a suspended license, one of which landed him in jail for 5 days. There was an outstanding arrest warrant for another. As for Emma Bailey, her record was more banal. A DUI arrest this past February after she breezed through a red light in Pullman around 2 a.m. When the cops dug deeper, they grew to suspect that the couple were very possibly dealing drugs they had scored in Seattle to the local colleges in Pullman and Moscow.
By the way, we're about to get more information on Emma and D than we have so far. There's shit in this little clip that I'm going to show you that I never even knew before.
In fact, they discovered, and the detective's incident report flatly stated, there were investigations in other jurisdictions for Emma and Demetrius for narcotics trafficking. But just 5 days before the trial for supplying the lethal cocaine was to begin, a judge dismissed the case. Their legal aid lawyer had zeroed in on a technicality, but it was clearly a very consequential one. The question of prosecutorial jurisdiction.
They got off.
Apparently, they had been scheduled to be tried in the county where the death had occurred rather than where the cocaine had been ingested. But their good fortune might be short-lived. The judge dismissed that case without prejudice, which means it can be refiled in the same court of law if the authorities draft a new and more carefully drawn indictment. Is one in the works? All a fuming Centralia detective who'd been involved in the case from the morning he'd found Young's inert body would say is we are not going to let this case disappear. And he's not alone. The case hasn't disappeared from the thoughts of the Kohlberger defense team either. Why? What does this have to do with him?
So the Kohlberger defense team is still focused on Demetrius and Emma. You have to ask yourself, why is that? It's not just JB Gunner. It's not just truth and transparency. Why is the Kohlberger defense honed in on Demetrius and Emma? Ask yourself that.
It is a touchstone, according to people familiar with their inquiries, that has the team digging deep into the possibility of narcotics trafficking along Greek Row in Moscow, and wondering whether these furtive activities might have somehow played a part in the quadruple murders. What, if anything, they have uncovered is wrapped up tight by the iron bands of the gag order. The overview offered by the Seattle DEA field office is a tale of cutthroat international intrigue, a pipeline that runs from China, where the fentanyl precursor chemicals are produced, to the sinister Sinaloa and Jalisco cartels in Mexico.
Oh, God damn it. All the cartel clowns in this community are going to come back out now. CG said cartel, Jimmy. Shut your bitch ass up. Just because Demetrius or whoever gets his dope from the cartel doesn't mean the cartel did the hit. If anything, cartel would hit Demetrius for not collecting his funds right. That's all I'm saying. I don't think you understand the way this shit works. The cartel doesn't go after the street level buyers. If one of their dope dealers fucks shit up, they go after the dope dealer. The cartel would string up Demetrius, possibly from a tree, a lot quicker then they would go after the 4 Idaho 4 kids with a couple of dime bags and shit. That's all I'm saying.
Which manufacture the drugs and then smuggle the too often lethal product to their distribution networks in northwestern urban hubs such as Seattle and Spokane. Then, with the eager help of a freelance army of small-time distributors, the tentacles of the octopus reach into the seemingly wholesome all-American counties and college towns stretching across the great outdoors. That's the view from 1,000 feet. But Sheriff Brett Myers, head of the Quad City Drug Task Force, a multi-jurisdictional team propped up in part by federal money, whose territory includes the university towns of Moscow and Pullman, offers a ground-level account. And it is enough to give anyone whose kid is heading off to college in the area the willies. Matter-of-factly, the sheriff shares that his task force is working with college kids in the local schools whom they've caught dealing MDMA and cocaine.
What? The task force leader said that his task force is working with kids in the colleges to rat out the dope dealers. Interesting, don't you think? Don't you think? And who's one of the biggest dope dealers in that general region that we have heard is one of the biggest dope dealers? Now, there's no clarification, there's no confirmation to that, but isn't it D? Interesting.
Flipping them and then using the students to go after the big local dealers.
Damn!
And once the scared, witless college kids have helped his team ID the foot soldiers, quote, we go up the ladder to get the people tied to the cartels in the cities.
Ooh.
There are a lot of unanswered questions, he acknowledges. Pressed further about the quadruple murder of the Idaho students, he candidly goes on, could it have been a drug-related case? I can't rule it out. It's not improbable, he says, adding, from what I know, that would answer a lot of questions. But did any of the victims know these 2 accused drug dealers, Bailey and Robinson? Maybe.
I do want to make something clear before we continue. The likelihood of a street-level, pretty much broke Demetrius Robinson. And how do I know he was broke? Because he had a $100,000 bail, which means you pay $10,000, and he couldn't get out of prison. If you're a drug dealer and you can't pay a $10,000 bail, then you're in the wrong profession. To believe that someone that doesn't even have $10,000 to bail out of jail is tied to the cartel personally, you're a fool. You understand what I'm saying? He's a foot soldier, so to speak. He's a mule. He's a mule in this situation. So even if, as you go up the ladder, you do find the cartel somewhere, it's not directly connected to Demetrius or Emma, who was in jail on a $100,000 bond without the ability to get out, when all you got to do is pay 10%. $10,000 for a drug dealer should not be anything. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm just being honest. So to all you motherfuckers out there, if you're selling dope or doing anything illegal and you don't even have $10,000 stashed up in a fucking shoebox, then you motherfuckers are basically donating your life and your freedom for nothing.
Ashlyn Couch, then a University of Idaho senior, was an original signer of the lease. Stay with me.
Watch this.
On the King Road house with the others. But she never actually moved in.
Nope.
Nonetheless, she remained a friend as well as a sorority sister of several of the residents. And according to some reports, she would visit from time to time.
Yep.
Couch also follows Emma Bailey, one of our arrestees, on Instagram, which could mean something or nothing. But so we have the person who is the lessor.
I don't follow some random motherfucker I don't know.
On the King Road house, following one of these accused drug dealers on Instagram. It all does lead to another question. Did Emma Bailey, accused drug dealer, know Brian Kohlberger?
Maybe.
We know he had a drug past. This question has
Or did she know Xander Cornudo? I'm just saying. Or did she know Maddie Mogan and Maddie Mogan's dad? I don't know. I know that Emma Bailey was caught on film at the house. That's what I know.
persuaded investigators associated with the defense to revisit.
She was caught on film at the Idaho 4 house, not Brian Kohlberger's house.
Brian Kohlberger's first day in Moscow. That was 3 months before the murders.
3 months.
When he met his next door neighbor, Christian Martinez. It was then that Martinez invited his new neighbor, Brian Kohlberger, to a pool party.
Here we
This
go.
is back on July 9th at the Grove, a clapboard complex of buildings filled with college kids, mostly University of Idaho students.
Have y'all heard this story before? I hadn't.
Just a 15-minute or so drive across the state line in Moscow. I
Ooh.
called Brian, lived in Washington State. Thanks.
Listen.
I have to run and get trunks, Kohlberger texted back to Martinez. And so, while Zach DJ Grape Vinyl Cartwright, a muscular PhD in food science with the countenance of an Aztec chieftain and a jet black man bun, manned the turntables at this party, Kohlberger, in his new trunks, perched at the shallow end of the large pool.
By the way, by the end of this story, you're going to hear and see evidence. Brian Kohlberger was no incel. In fact, he's got a little bit of pimp game to him. I gotta say, Kohlberger's got a little bit of pimp game to him. Just keep listening, keep listening.
Bad Bunny wailed from the speakers, reports Bloom, imploring party, party. Chicken and steak were being grilled to make tacos. There was beer, wine, tequila. The sun was blinding.
What the hell's going on up there? Bad Bunny, tacos, tequila. Maybe the cartel is involved. What white bread Idaho play? See, this is why I don't like this new generation. I'm just being honest. What white party you ever been to had Bad Bunny, tacos and fajitas, and fucking tequila all in the same damn party?
There must have been 100 or more college kids on the deck surrounding the two large ovals that formed the pristine blue pool. And just down the hill from the housing complex, close enough for Bad Bunny to come rattling through its windows, was the Moscow police headquarters. Taking a seat next to Kohlberger that day was Beseth Salamjan,
Where
a
the fuck he come
laid-back,
from?
darkly handsome, off-and-on WSU undergraduate who was friends with Kohlberger's new neighbor, Martinez, who had invited Kohlberger to the party, as well as DJ Cartwright. Salamjan and Kohlberger got to talking.
Here we go.
And while the details of their conversation have long been forgotten, Salamjan vividly remembers how, quote, the dude would talk chin up, straight to my face. We were just shooting shit, he says, but he was definitely one serious dude. Nice enough, though.
Kohlberger.
Then Salamjan stood up and went off to dance. So Kohlberger, perhaps not wanting to be a wallflower as the party was gathering steam,
Watch this.
went over to talk to the DJ. Quote,
It's coming.
he was asking me about my speakers, all kind of technical stuff, Cartwright remembers. But he had this way about him. You know those people who don't understand personal space? He was one of them.
I believe
He'd
that.
get real close. It was off-putting.
I believe that with Kohlberger. Remember that fat girl with the fat liberal with the pink hair? She's like, he tried to touch me on a date. Well, so does every other dude. But Kohlberger not necessarily respecting one's personal space. I've met people like that. My uncle used to be like that. He's one of the people that always touch. You ever met those people that always touch you when they're talking to you and shit? Whether they're a dude or a chick, you're just like, hey man, don't fucking touch me. You know what I'm saying though? I mean, Kohlberger might have very well been one of those dudes.
Says Cartwright.
Keep listening,
Cartwright
keep listening.
told his new acquaintance, quote, I'm DJing, man. I'll catch you later. With that, Kohlberger returned to the shallow end of the pool. And before too long,
Watch.
Salamjan returned too.
Watch this shit.
And he witnessed two events that in their pregnant way are provocative footnotes to all that would happen in Moscow
Nope.
just a few months later.
Nope. Actually, I think this counters what everybody says about Kohlberger. Watch this.
He watched as Kohlberger abruptly jumped up without warning and approached a girl in a black thong bikini
Woo.
with pink hair and a complex tattoo design on her left thigh.
One of them hoes.
Then Kohlberger, after only a brief conversation, asked her for her phone number.
And
he got it.
Kohlberger.
Next,
Watch
as if
this.
a man on a
Watch
mission,
this.
He turned to the pink-haired woman's friend, also in a black two-piece, and asked for her number too.
And he got it.
And he succeeded
Bam!
once again.
Kohlberger Pippin.
Only after that, perhaps feeling he had accomplished.
Let me give a shout out to Brian Kohlberger. Brian Kohlberger was laying it down. That's two broads in bikinis with complex tattoos showing, probably thin. Kohlberger was able to snatch not just one, but the bitch's friend too. Incel my ass.
All he'd set out to do, more in fact. Brian quietly shuffled off while the party was.
And I'm gonna be honest, you gotta have JB Gunner like confidence to be able to do that. Can I get your number? I didn't look right over at her friend and be like, bitch, can I get your number too? That is what elite level Macs do. When you don't give a fuck, when you have confidence that you're gonna get both numbers. It's a hunt, it's a game. And only certain ones of us dudes have the confidence and ability to do that. And it's the exact opposite of an incel.
Just hitting a groove. He said no goodbyes. Did he ever call the two women? They insist he did not.
There you go.
At least not long enough to speak to them. As it happens, both women received several hang-up calls in the aftermath of the party, but neither of them ever had any thoughts about who the culprit might have been. Until Kohlberger's arrest. And by then, the FBI was inquiring into what went on at that pool party. The agents commandeered a room at the red brick Lightly Student Services building adjacent to the main WSU
The FBI has looked into this pool party. Keep that in mind, because we haven't heard about this pool party.
campus. And with
I wonder if this was the same pool party that Demetrius Robinson. Remember that situation? Remember the Demetrius Robinson assault case? Was this the same one? Do you remember what I'm talking about? I wonder if that would be an interesting. I got to find that date.
Professional politeness that impressed the students began interviewing anyone who knew Brian Kohlberger. In the process, they inquired if anyone had any photos or even a video from the July 9th pool party.
They got it.
A few were produced. It was not an extensive record of the festivities, more a haphazard collection of snapshots and at least one brief, somewhat random video. The agents were searching for Gonsalves, Mogan, Kernodle, or Chapin.
Were they there?
They could not find them.
No.
Which means they weren't at the pool party, or they simply did not appear in the photos or the video that were taken that day.
They would have took video
Maybe they
themselves.
Just weren't in the handful.
No. Them broads TikToked everything. They were ticker-tockering everything. Those broads, those kids, the Idaho 4, would have videotaped or TikToked or took pictures at that pool party. I guarantee it.
Photos and videos that were shared with the Bureau. But what if the FBI's review, done last November in the early stages of this investigation, was too narrow? What if they had scrutinized the pictures in the video and had ignored the possible presence of another guest whose appearance could put a whole new spin on what happened at the house on King Road?
Good theory.
What if accused drug dealer Emma Bailey had been at the pool party?
Good question.
If she had been, then she might very well have also been approached by Kohlberger on the make.
Possibly.
And if, as the police allege, she was in the habit of dealing recreational drugs, it might have been a connection a one-time heroin addict like Kohlberger would have relished. This is all speculation, but the defense is looking into it. It might have been a connection that, unlike his approaches to the two other female partygoers, could have had some longevity. In fact, he might have even visited Bailey from time to time at her home in Moscow.
Oh!
Which, as it happens, was tucked into the very end of a cul-de-sac.
What if Kohlberger had a connection with Emma Bailey? And maybe that is why his vehicle was in the area. Because the phone pings are a 27 square mile radius. Which essentially, remember in the PCA, they said that Brian Kohlberger's phone pinged in Moscow, but they did not believe he was in Moscow? How's that possible? Intriguing.
A minute or so away from the murder house
Oh.
by car,
Oh.
which would put it very much within the same incriminating cell tower radius as the scene of the crime on King Road.
Oh, shit.
So, was Emma at this party? Howard Bloom talked to 7 people who had been there, and the responses he received, all shared after a good deal of thought, ran the gamut from "I think she was" to "she might have been." But no one said she definitely was there. And no one said she definitely was not. In short, there remains something for the defense to seek its teeth into.
Yes.
A hypothetical alternative to the version of the case presented by the prosecution.
Yes.
Now, this theory, as laid out by Bloom, is just that, a theory.
Yeah.
But the defense will surely try to suggest to the jury that there were other reasons for Kohlberger to have been out driving that night, perhaps
To get drugs.
tapping into an old habit. A
That's-
night he would later wish he had spent at home.
That's right.
Keep in mind, the defense does not need to prove anything here. It just
What if Brian Kohlberger happened to stop at Emma Bailey's to get some dope? And Demetrius was like, yo, homie, I need you to roll me around the block over here so I can collect my monies from the Idaho 4. Yo. Ask yourself that. Is it possible? See, everybody talks about maybe it was Britt Kopaka in the car with Kohlberger. Is it possible Kohlberger was a getaway driver? All he was doing was taking his drug dealer to go get some dope or go collect the fee. Because yo wanted to get his money, yo. Interesting theory, yo.
needs to muddy the waters enough to create reasonable doubt. In our next and final episode, we dig into the as yet unanswered questions.
Now, what I do want to say about Megyn Kelly is this. I do appreciate what she's done, but Megyn Kelly has a different opinion than I do. Megyn Kelly believes Brian Kohlberger did it. I appreciate the fact that she did a whole episode on the possible innocence of Brian Kohlberger. I think that's fair reporting, but here's Megyn Kelly's opinion about the case.
And now my final thoughts. I believe Brian Kohlberger committed this crime. A life of darkness, deep unhappiness, and of being mentally unwell likely all contributed to a sick fascination with death and what he may have seen as the power that comes from taking a life.
That was her view. That very well could be true, but I believe in innocence until proven guilty, and I don't believe that we, the public, have been granted enough evidence to convict him in the court of public opinion. Because the court of public opinion, I think, needs to be the same standards as a court of law. And if you believe, because, Harsh said something that was very true. He said, imagine if this was your brother, your sister, or whoever, someone in your family, wouldn't you want them to be innocent until proven guilty? If you were arrested, or someone, maybe your daughter, your mother, or anybody, wouldn't you want them to have that innocent until proven guilty, leniency? I think so. I think we all would. So here's the thing. I think the 5-part series by Megyn Kelly was excellent. Even though I disagree with her conclusion. I don't know if Brian Kohlberger did it or not, but I don't believe we have enough evidence to put this man to death. I really enjoyed the fact that she touched on a potential killer or killers that I touched on 7 or 8 months ago. I think it's awesome. I think to get people to look into everybody in this case and to analyze every aspect is just good, logical thinking. I think people that came up with their conclusion last December when Brian Kohlberger was arrested, I don't find those people very intelligent. I find them bootlickers. They just put police balls right in their mouth. I don't find them very logical. I find them reactionary. They're like, oh, the police arrested him and he must got him. And a lot of those same people, if you watch the way they interact with all the other cases, they do the exact same thing. Never once do they step outside the box to think, well, maybe the police were wrong, even though here in America, less than 50% of our homicides are solved. So you have, in the true crime community, consistent bootlicking. Oh, the cops and the police and the feds can never be wrong, even though they're wrong all the time. They're wrong all the time. So, hey. And look, I ain't one of these liberals that's anti-police. I'm fucking, you know me, I'm conservative MAGA all the way. But the police are human. And they're wrong. The system can be wrong consistently. When you overlook someone that's part of a group that, despite being actually only 6% of the people, and that's the males, are responsible for 54% of the homicides, how you just shove that to the side even though this person has a violent history, and we somehow target in on the PhD student just because there was a small amount of touch DNA on our knife sheath. I think we need more. And maybe we'll get more because they're talking about bringing the trial up in the summer. Now, I'll be traveling all summer, but I still will cover the trial in its entirety for you guys. I love you guys. I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime. Oh, I don't love all you motherfuckers. Guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. Did you watch the whole series? Hopefully you do take the time to do it. You know me. A lot more likely than Brian Kohlberger. Call me racist, you're racist, all you want. I don't give a fuck. And for you people that do, or the other YouTubers that do, let me ask you a question. If I was racist, would it bother me that you called me racist? Because wouldn't a racist think that racism is okay? I'll call you a racist. Well, oh no. JB, you drink a lot. Oh no, I clearly think drinking a lot is okay. Just saying. If you like what I do here and find my content valuable, hit the links down below. Join the Gun Squad today. This is a bonus video. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers.